Here's a pencil drawing I did. It has some good detail, so I think it'll make a good drawing to make copies from. This is not carbon paper, but it works a lot like carbon paper. It's actually a Spirit Master, and I've heard it called hectographic paper. It includes several layers, including a protection layer that you just pull out in order to use it. And this is what I'll be using today. So now all I need to do is trace the lines. Now when I'm done tracing, the transfer paper makes a copy onto the background paper, and I'm ready to do my test. Okay, right here I've got the dangerous part. It's our mixture over a bowl of salt water. It's been cooking for a while, so let me go ahead and pour it into the tray. Now I've got to work to remove those bubbles. And here's how you get rid of those bubbles. And you just keep working until all the bubbles are out. Before using the gel, you need to moisten it. And I use a small atomizer. You'd want to sponge those off with a fine sponge if you had drops that settled onto the surface. But with the small mist it seems to be alright. And then you go ahead and apply your design. Put it down face down. You smooth out your surface. Now I've waited about 3 minutes for the ink to transfer into the gel, and if I go too long it can start diffusing a little bit and you won't get as sharp an image. This is my attempt at removing it carefully. You don't want to dig your finger into the gel, and so you have to carefully scoop up the corner without digging into the surface. There's the image on the gel, and notice the lettering is backwards. So when I transfer it to the paper, it's going to be right side up. Although I do have a couple spots near the lettering where the gel actually stuck to the paper. If you look on the other side, I had to start pulling from the other side and then it came up fine. So I'm going to go ahead and try and fix those letters a little bit, and then I'll make my print. So I'm going to go ahead and add the water back on the surface again. And I'm going to take my paper that I want to make a print from and lightly dampen that. And then you place the paper down, and I have a little bit of ink on the back of my fingers that I need to get off. And you let the image absorb into the paper to make your print. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper. And this is what you're looking for. It'll peel up very nicely and not take any of the gelatin with it. However, your image will be transferred to the paper. And let's see how the lettering turned out. Ah! And that's what you're looking for. Here's the image masked off. I wasn't too happy with the lettering, so I've masked that off. And the other thing was the edges still had traces of the dye, so they were coming out on the paper, so I wanted to go ahead and remove that. I'm going to go ahead and try some watercolor paper at this point. Lie the paper down. Okay, this has been sitting about 2 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and take up the image. And slowly peel it back. So we don't want any of the gel coming up. This is a heavier, thicker paper. And there's the image on the watercolor paper. So I think it was a little damp because I've got a little bit of bleeding in the paper, but the trace lines are gone. So I'll go ahead and give that one another try and maybe shorten the time amount. Okay. Let me go ahead and put the paper down. And this time I won't wait as long. And here's a copy of that last one. So you can see it came out really sharp and clear. Okay, this is about 3 hours later. I pulled 5 or 6 prints and could have done a lot more, but I just let the tray sit, and now I'm going to go ahead and use a different kind of paper, just regular paper. And here we'll go ahead and remove this. And you'll see, even after a few hours, the ink is still being transmitted back up into the paper from the gel. So you're still getting a pretty good copy.